Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition, the absolute final edition of Blueblood on the Mainline. I'm your host, Curtis Sumpter, and I'll be joined today by my current producer, Zach Engler, current UNC student. What's up, Zach? What's going on?
Hey, Curtis. Good to be on this side of the camera.
You're always on that side of the camera, just that no one ever sees you. Only the guests see you before we actually get shooting, but everyone knows who Zach is.
Yeah, just it's good I don't have to crop myself out this time after editing the podcast. I don't have to crop my little face out.
Well, that's cool, man. Well, finally, I'm glad to have you on the show, especially as my last guest, because no one knows, at least I think, more about Villanova basketball than you outside of the family, just by, I guess, dealing with me on a day-to-day, tracking down former Villanova players, current Villanova players, coaches, staff, and just hearing a lot about the culture. So I definitely would love to just hear your thoughts just of a whole entire season of just hearing constant testimonials by former players, current coaches, just about Villanova and your thoughts of just the program in its entirety.
I mean, where do you begin? Like, I definitely have kept track of Villanova basketball more this season than I ever have for Villanova basketball personally. I'm on the campus of Chapel Hill. I'm always following UNC basketball, but Villanova was the only other team that I had the alerts for ESPN to pop up on my phone. The only other college basketball team I had for that. So I was definitely keeping track of them, keeping tabs on them. I mean, just what a team. What, like, a really good season for a team that Colin Gillespie obviously is a star and he's so fantastic to watch. But Villanova, one of the things I love about him is there's no like huge 5-star recruit that dominates the headlines. Colin kind of did that, but you have all these other players, Slater, Jermaine Samuels, who we had on the program earlier this season. Just it's such a balanced program of a culture of just making that extra pass, and just basketball. It's so much fun to watch. It's just a testament to just how great Coach Jay Wright is, because he has made a fantastic program.
Oh man, it's so much fun to watch. I mean, you say that. I mean, I watch a ton of basketball, NBA, college, and I am fans of other coaches, other programs, and things of that nature. But it's just different when I look at the way Villanova plays, and I try to find that in other programs and see. And it's tough because you don't see it. You don't see it. And I do think that this whole transfer portal, this whole thing that's kind of flipped college basketball inside out, high school recruiting, a lot of programs will benefit from it and a lot of programs will not benefit from it. I see Villanova still being the same. I think this has no effect on Villanova because our program was never built on that, on one and dones, on things of that nature. Yes, we had guys who were talented to possibly be one and dones, but the mindset was, hey, let me try to graduate. And if I get opportunity early, then yeah, I'm out, because that's just usually how it goes. But no one ever came in there and said, like, hey, I'm one and done. If I had to think of one, it would be Jason Frazier. Other than that, I can't think of anybody else who coming into Villanova was an absolute one and done player, or had that mindset, or even if they did have that mindset, it was quickly, shifted once they got there and they saw how things were and how much, you had to work in order to, be out there, on the court. So it's just, like you said, Coach Wright, Villanova basketball. Oh man, it's just fun to watch. It's like they make it hard for you not to be a fan.
Yeah, I think the unique part of Villanova basketball is, as you mentioned, this transfer portal is blowing up in a way that I personally think the NCAA kind of needs to look at, fix, because you have these players just moving willy-nilly every season. It's basically a trade deadline. But Villanova doesn't need transfers. They don't need to go into this transfer portal and pick people out the way other teams might want to do, or in some cases might even just need to do to stay alive. I mean, Villanova has a really good recruiting class coming in. I think the number one in the Big East, 5-star forward, couple 4-star guards. They don't need any transfers. I mean, they would be perfectly fine. And I think they're like one of the only teams that I look at in this country, and I'm like, if they don't get a single transfer, I'm comfortable with them doing the exact same, if not better than they did last year. I like, get these new recruits coming in. Obviously, you have a couple questions at point guard, who's going to replace Colin, but they could make another Final Four run, or even farther, based on how well Justin comes back from that injury. They don't need to dip into this transfer portal. I think that's just an insanely different program than the rest of these programs you see that are so built on like, oh, if we can get this star guy in the portal, then we're looking at, a Final Four run. Villanova doesn't need that. They're just business as usual. Transfer portal doesn't matter.
Now, I do think we are in an interesting situation because of Justin's injury and the timing of it. It's going to be at least a year. So he's going to miss next season, and he's going to probably have to come back for a fifth year, right? Colin is gone. Longino had that MCL sprain tear, some similar. He was like the other freshman guard. Think Chris Archidiakono, he might be out of there. So, like, technically, like, we do need a guard. Now, we do have an All-American coming in right away, and he's good. He's really, really good. It'll be interesting to see if Coach puts the ball in his hands right away. But the portal in this instance, to find, a guard out there, just a solid guard, you know what I mean? It might not be a bad thing too, you know what I mean? In this particular situation, just because of the way the roster and everything balance out and the way we like to play. We love to have multiple strong ball handlers, on the floor to run the offense. And we would definitely need another strong ball handler, on our roster next year. So it'll be interesting to see if Coach looks at that. But again, it won't have to be, 5-star, guy. Like, no, it's just someone who's gonna, love the opportunity to obviously play at the best university, the best college team, in the country, and be a chance to, play at Madison Square Garden, Big East basketball, national TV scheduled games and opportunity, to learn the game. I think we still have a opportunity there, but it'd be interesting to see if he actually taps into it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's so many different, there's record numbers of people in the transfer portal, I think, at this point, or there's going to be just so much talent. Like, as I said, I'm still pretty sure Villanova doesn't need necessarily to go in, and they can still be a powerhouse program, but it can't hurt to just kind of go window shopping a little bit.
It can't hurt the window shop.
You got almost all of St. Peter's going into the transfer portal, and they're good play. Like, they're an Elite Eight team. Could they do it again if they all stayed together? I don't know. That's a different story. But there's talent. You can't deny there's talent. There's the LSU exodus of everybody leaving that program. There's so many players who can ball and make a difference in not just.
He might not even have to shop, like you said. He might not even have to shop. People probably just call, hey, we're transferring. Will Villanova be interested? Garvin, just that whole deal. Talent comes to you. But the biggest thing we're going to see too now is other universities getting opportunities to be on a big stage, right? Programs that we know to be traditionally good, people leaving, coaches now losing their jobs a lot sooner. Like, you're expecting this guy, then you got 5 guys transferring, the AD looking at you like, you got 5 guys transferring this year, 3 guys transferring next year. Like, what's going on? The stability isn't there. Coaches really have to coach. They really have to change their style, how they relate to people, how they talk to people, bring people together, because people's tolerance levels is like this much. And think about this, kids, 18 years old, 22, they don't have a clue, very, very emotional. A lot of, decisions are made just based off emotions, and not really understanding, what's being in front of them. So I'm just glad that this wasn't, here when I was playing, because we all have our moments with the coach. Every player does. And just to think that, at any moment, myself or any one of my brothers that come through the program could have, had a moment where it's like, I'm out. Who knows where the program, would have gone and and things of that nature. So I'm just glad that it wasn't around when I was there. It is here now. It does give players some power. It does hold coaches some accountability to be honest and truthful, to these kids who are signing these contracts that come to the schools. So it's a real give and take. Like you can't just say what you want to say anymore. You really have to show it, So that's the beauty part of it, I would say.
I definitely like the fact that it's giving the players a little more power, and as you said, holding the coaches accountable, so that they can't just be like, oh, you're going to be playing 48 or 40 minutes a game all 4 years, and then when you don't, the players kind of
just don't lie. You just say, hey, it's going to be, you have a chance, but you got to come in here and work. There's opportunity. That's as broad as you can be. That's 1 minute to 48 minutes right there in that speech. You could be in there for any one of those times. You just got to come in, put the work in, and do what you got to do. But I just hope that it also doesn't breed people not being able to have a little confrontation. You know what I mean? Like people just want to run away as soon as a little confrontation come. I also think it's a house for that. Like it'll breed people to just not in a bad way, but just stand up to yourself and have those difficult conversations with people instead of just running. So there's always a give and take of that thing, especially when you're dealing with young kids.
Yeah, I think, as I said earlier in the show, I think it's something the NCAA needs to look at. It feels almost too free, too flexible, too easy to just like, oh, we didn't win a championship this year. Let me go transfer to the person who did, or something like that, where it's just, there needs to be some sort of hindrance, because it feels like people can just bounce around, just, I didn't really love this school. Let me go try this one. Let me go try this one. And just sampling all these different programs and schools. And that's not college basketball. College basketball is you recruit somebody, you have them for 4 years. You try to build a team in 4 years. And if not, that cycle keeps going again.
It's not a good look for the player too. People will look at that player and might say, yeah, like they might not be as tough mentally, because as soon as a challenge occurs, they run. This guy might have been 3 different schools in 3 years, 4 different schools. It's just those things. Like that's just not a really, really good look, in my opinion. Sometimes you just got to pick a decision. It might not be, you got to tough it out. It might be one opportunity where you can like, okay, you know what? I made a bad choice. I can go over here. But after that, you better figure it out. You know what I mean? To go to another one, I just think from a character standpoint, it just affects you.
If you're in the league, you can't be requesting a trade every time you don't get minutes in a game that you were expecting to get. Perseverance is such like an important quality of a basketball player. It doesn't look good, as you said, when people are just running from school to school looking for like the greenest grass they can find. You got to persevere. You got to stick with it.
Yeah, persevere. And on the topic of persevering and staying with it, man, as I mentioned earlier in the show, you are a UNC current student. You guys, 8 seed, we've talked all this season about Carolina, and I saw you were up and down here, there, but then, I told you guys you were going to beat Coach K at Duke. You didn't believe me. You guys won, and then you guys made a fantastic run in the NCAA tournament. Like, what was campus life like? What was the whole atmosphere like? Just because I'm sure no one had you guys going that far for sure.
Yeah, I will say this. I'll say it on air so everybody can hear it. You were the only person who genuinely said, I think UNC has a chance in Cameron for Coach K's last game. You're the only person. I talked to dozens, hundreds of students, faculty, UNC fans, and they're all like, look, we're going to win. But like, nobody was like, oh yeah, we're going to win. Right? Like, they're like, oh, come on. Like, I hope we win. No, you were the only person to be like, look, I'll put money on it. Like UNC is gonna go in and win. And kudos to you. Kudos to you. You're the only one with the stones to do that. And damn, it paid off. I mean, throughout the season, nobody really cared that much anymore. It was like down year, like hopefully Hubert can turn it around. But then we get into this, we beat Coach K. We're like, okay, that's a good way to end it. Hopefully, we maybe get a win in the tournament. Can't ask for too much. And we just start making this run. the
Mhm.
hell is going on? Like, there's no way this happens, right? We beat Marquette, just smoke them. We're like, okay, Baylor, that's a tough task, but they're not healthy. We might be able to make it a game. We beat Baylor, takes 20 years off my life. Controversial call. Brady should not have been ejected. That's just my
Right.
personal
Right.
opinion there. And we're like, okay, we're getting deep into this tournament. Beat UCLA, beat St. Peter's, come up against Duke. That was the most stressful week, not just of my life, of any. You could feel it at UNC.
Mm.
5 days of just nobody getting work done. Nobody could focus.
Yeah.
Just like, what's going to happen Saturday? Because that's the peak of one of, if not the greatest rivalry in college basketball. Personally,
Right.
I think it is the greatest rivalry, but different opinions.
It's the
That's peak.
greatest. It's the greatest rivalry in college basketball. I would definitely say from history, and one of the greatest rivalries just in sports and in American sports history in general. And that's why I felt comfortable saying Carolina was going to beat Duke, because those kids, that was their championship game. They played in 2 championship games this year.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like, that was a championship game. Coach K's fun. I would have been so hyped, so like, just to be in that space. That's a championship atmosphere, because the world pretty much essentially is watching, man. The greatest coach, arguably. You know what I mean? So yeah, if you can't get up for that game, if you ain't going to dive and do all the extra things for that particular game, the pressure was all on Duke.
Oh yeah,
I gotta go and protect this man's yeah, I wouldn't want that.
of
I
the
would
3
want it, but it's
games.
like at the same time, if I had a choice, I'd be like, nah, I'd rather be on the other side of
Of the
it.
2 Duke games, the one at Cameron and then the one in the Final Four, and then the actual national championship. I cared about the national championship less than the other 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I was sitting there
Exactly.
for the Duke game. I was sitting there just bouncing, just nervous wreck. Never been so nervous. And then I'm watching the actual national championship, and I'm just like, you know what? Like, if we lose, we beat Duke. We beat that was easily the
Nice.
national championship for UNC.
Yeah.
Was in that Final
It's,
Four. We have that trump card against Duke forever. There's debate. Is the rivalry over? I don't think it's over, but we have the trump card forever. Beat us
you,
in a national championship, and then you can talk. But until then, we retired Coach K. And
that's the thing. Like, you guys, there's just not many victories, or just as more victories. There's not many wins in this season. Um, there's not many seasons like this. Meaning, like, you guys had like I said, you had a chance to retire Coach K, like an unbelievable atmosphere game, and then still advance to the national championship game, and where you had a game that was a regular season game seem more important than the national championship. Like, that just doesn't happen, and that just shows the legacy of Carolina basketball and Duke basketball and the tradition. Like, it's crazy. It brought me back to when Zion Williamson, Cam Reddish, and RJ Barrett, when they played UNC, and like Obama, like everybody. I'm like, what? Like, that's when college basketball, UNC and Duke is just something to be marveled at, and that's what Villanova, that's what we were trying to do, We just need somebody to rival us, because we just keep smacking everybody. So I don't know. Now you come back in the Big East, we can, maybe get
gonna
some
say,
sparked up there. Shaheen's now in Seton Hall. Shaheen can get Seton Hall going. That'd be good. Get some New York guys up in there and get that rivalry. That'd be good, because it's right up the street. You know, but yeah, that we would love to be in that space, man. I would love for everyone to be like, I gotta watch the Villanova game. I mean, they do, but not to that magnitude.
Big East. I mean, you guys definitely have some contenders building a good program over there. It's one of the better conferences now, for sure. I mean, definitely, you got Providence and Ed Cooley making a great run in the tournament. Great what they took the regular season. So that's an up and coming program, if you can even call them up and coming. They're just here. You got Xavier, the NIT champions. Good season until it wasn't.
Right.
They were strong until they just kind of collapsed right at the end.
They got
UConn,
Sean Miller back, so they got another good coach back. The Big East got a lot of good coaches, man. Like, a lot of good coaches.
It's just a chess. Big East basketball is not just like punching people now. It's a chess match.
It literally is.
it's so entertaining for like a basketball mind to watch and see these coaches battle, not just the players. And I mean, it's just a battle every game in the Big
every
East,
day. I
except for
remember
Georgetown battling. But
I was just getting done playing basketball. I went to Villanova, worked there for a year with one of the staff. And it was right as they were like forming the new Big East, right? Like these were the talks, the meetings, the ideas. And obviously teams were leaving. And you looked at our school, you was like, damn, we just got all these little small Catholic schools. Like this just don't seem like the Big East. Like, granted, you said your Villanova, your Georgetowns, your St. John's, your Seton Hall, your probably, but it just didn't feel like when you looked at it on paper, you was like, just don't feel like the Big East, But every coach, I sat on some meetings, listening to like their ideas, like, yo, we got to bring this thing back to where it was. Like we have to bring the intensity back. Like, and every coach I felt like did the absolute most in trying to recreate the old Big East, through in which they can do, with their recruiting for their teams and culture wise. And they brought that physical toughness, just that back. And I think the Big East is back. Like it's back. It's unfortunate. And now it's good to have UConn there. I mean, it would be lovely if we can get Syracuse back, but
I was gonna say take Syracuse and Pittsburgh back. Hopefully Pittsburgh can.
No, we don't want Pitt. I mean,
they're not. I feel like
Pitt. I can keep Pitt.
Switch the conference. Maybe get the coach. Switch out Jeff Capel for somebody and get them back into national contention. Or if Jeff Capel can do the job himself. But
is he at Pitt?
Yeah, he's at Pitt still. I think they're sticking with him for the next year. I think I saw that tweet somewhere, but not looking great so far. I don't think that experiment went the way it was supposed to.
Yeah, he got to get a Big East. Like Pitt is a Big East school. It's not.
Oh, for sure.
ACC. Yeah, I wouldn't.
All those battles with Marquette, UConn, Kemba Walker. I grew up on that. That was the Big East I grew up on. The cardiac Kemba moment at MSG where he crossed over.
Cardiac Kemba.
Whoever on Pittsburgh, put him on the floor, trained it with the second. I've watched that at least like 5 times a year, every year since then. Every time it pops up. Every time it pops up on my feed, I'll watch it. Just be like, damn.
I watched it live and I was like,
oh yeah,
damn. Pops. And the way he hopped, whoop, whoop, whoop. I was like, anybody would have fell on that. Like, I said, the way he just bounced back, I said, anybody would have fell. And then you look at Kemba walking now, and Kemba can't even move. And that just hurts my heart, man. It hurts my heart. You know what I mean? It's like, damn, Kemba, like, always wanted you on the Knicks, man. You come home,
finally comes on the Knicks, and he's maybe half the player he used to be.
A quarter, like they shut him down like 2 months ago. I'm like, oh man, so let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at BetRivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up yet with BetRivers, now's the time because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. What sets them apart is that they require one playthrough just to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With conference play starting up, get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLE. So what do you think? What are your thoughts next year for UNC? Do you see yourselves? Do you see you guys returning? Because you guys can return all players from what I hear.
We can return a lot of players. There's already been a lot of conversation about that. Nobody wants to bet against Hubert Davis anymore because he shut everybody up. Nobody was expecting a run in the tournament, let alone a national championship appearance. So nobody's going to be like, nobody's comfortable saying, oh, back to mediocrity from the stuff we've seen the last couple of years from UNC. I'm curious to see who returns because it feels like a lot of the players can at least like think about the draft. I think Caleb Love would be the only UNC player who like has a legitimate shot at getting drafted. He'd be late second round, even if he does. Baycott probably destined for the G League at this point. But other than that, I think if they all come back, and they just run it back one more year, I don't see a reason why UNC can't get back into the Final Four.
I agree. Obviously, Manic,
Yeah,
his
Brady
name,
Manek.
he won't be there, so you
Yeah,
definitely got to replace him. And he was huge for you guys this year.
what
Like
a transfer!
he
What a transfer!
huge, huge.
I would pay so much money for him to come back just one more year. I mean,
Like,
talk about the
he like I
epitome
can't get
of
another
Carolina
degree or
basketball.
something. Like
Yeah,
he was
change
the
your major,
perfect.
just take some more classes, do something.
He was the perfect uh complementary piece. You know, you had the dynamic guard, two guard, shoot threes, attacking the basket. Then you had the dynamic playmaking point guard, pushing the ball, kicking it up, foul line pull-ups in transition, big high, cleaning the boards up everywhere, offense, defense, Manic, running around, coming off a little pin down, stretching it out, keeping the lane space for the guards to do their thing. Like you guys had great balance. And this is where like you guys looked like a Villanova team, kind of, sort of, because you need a four. You need a four, man, who can stretch that thing out, who also can drive that thing. And obviously you got a guy who clean up the boards, man. Like you guys had so much good floor balance. I became a fan this tournament, especially of Caleb Love. Like, and it wasn't so much like the media, oh, because he had some good games. Like he just get tough, man. I like his heart, his toughness. Some shots may get a little crazy, but I can live with those because he playing aggressive. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like I haven't seen him force too many in a row. I might see a force too, but I haven't seen him like consistent force like 3 or 4, just where sometimes you might see guys. But yeah, you watch more, so you would know. But
I
I think
mean, he's forced a lot, but the thing is, he'll always hit one, and it would be like when he goes to shoot it from like 10 feet behind the line, you're like, what are you doing? And then he hits it, and we're like, we never doubted you ever. Like it was always the right shot. And then, but when he hits one, he's going to shoot at least 4 more.
right, and that's the
It's just
thing.
like if
Yeah,
he hits those, that's the games he's on Sports Center, and they're like, Caleb Love is the best guard in the nation. And when he misses, those are the games UNC lost. And so early
yeah.
in the season, he was just missing all these shots, and
Mm-hmm.
that's when we saw the record go down. And then he just caught fire in the tournament, dropped like so many 20-point games, and he was just one game short. If he had done it one more game, there'd be another banner in the Dean Dome right now. But just one game short.
I was so looking forward to the Villanova UNC matchup again in the championship game. It's unfortunate, we both went down to the national champions, which is okay. You know what I mean? Like I would have rather seen, I was thinking of you, but at the same time, I was like, I would rather lose, have lost to the national championship, in which Villanova usually does. That's what happens when we lose in the tournament. The last couple of years, maybe 5 seasons, it's always just been really to like the national champions. It's never been to anyone else. So it just shows that how good that team is, and kudos to Kansas too. I know Coach Self, I know Norm Roberts, I know Freddie Q. Uh, those coaches recruited me in high school from various different programs, and we've developed like a personal relationship, family. So obviously I didn't want them to beat Villanova, but at the same time when it was done, I was able to be like, you know what, you guys got it, and congratulations, because I'm happy for you guys too, just because I know you guys personally, I know how much you guys work, and I know the conversations we had of so many times of you guys just like, damn, Villanova keep kicking our butt. So maybe you guys are due for one. That's how I look at it. You guys are due for one. Um, and we'll be back. Definitely, we'll definitely be back. Um, but this was just an unbelievable season, man. Like I just can't. I even think we exceeded a lot of expectations too. Um, the season for us was not like a runaway. I don't think, despite the record, what it may look like. I think people saw like coach. You know what I mean? Like he really had to coach a little bit more. And guys just learning on the fly. We've seen so many guys step up throughout the year. We saw Slater start the season out doing his thing and being a big part of everything. And then, he kind of hit a little stride where he was kind of just, mediocre, but still within everything. And then we seen Dixon. He turned it out. And then he had a stretch where he was doing it. And then, things kind of dwindled out a little bit. Everybody getting their feel. And then Caleb, had got caught fire, and then Caleb started having his moments. So you saw through the course of the season, everybody having their moments. Colin, Jermaine, constant, professionals and just being consistent leadership, seniors, day in and day out, not having much slippage at all. And then you see the young guys and Gino coming there. Obviously, Justin was consistent this whole year. Um, in fact, I want to say Justin was like a little roller coaster, but towards the middle and end of the year, he really, I think, really, really, really got going. And it's unfortunate for his injury. Um, I just can't wait to next year to see what we bring back and what we got. I mean, we're still returning Slater. We're still going to have Caleb. We got the freshman class coming in, which is good. We still got Dixon, Slater. Yeah, we're still going to be good.
Yeah, Villanova is one of those programs, from the outside, you're never worried about. You're always like, yeah, they're just going to be in the top 10, top 15. I think it's just a testament to the fact that you guys made it to the Final Four. You didn't win the championship. You made it to the Final Four. And that is by no means ever a disappointment, but you're almost like, wow, kind of surprised they didn't go farther. Usually you see them, in the championship game, or you have like 2 championships in the last 6 years or so. And you made it to the last 4 in the nation, and you're still almost like, wow, kind of a bad season for Villanova. I think the basketball is just going to get more entertaining as the rest of the conference gets better. Providence coming up, we talked about it. All the other teams, just such a competitive conference, the Big East. I think it's just going to get more entertaining, more close games. And Villanova is just going to stay up there, though. They're just going to stay up there. I have no doubt in my mind. They could just Jay Wright knows what he's doing. At this point, you can't deny that he's one of the best coaches in the nation. He knows what he's doing. And just from the outside looking in, Villanova will always be top 10, top 15 in the nation.
We got it. We got the program where it can run itself to an extent, you know what I mean, and just be managed. All the hard work, not all the hard work, there's always hard work, but a lot of the hard work was done already. Was done, and a lot of the things that help too is that a lot of people come back. Villanova alums, former basketball players, they come back and they develop relationships with the current players, which I think is huge and important because Coach Wright references a lot of former players, in situations and things like that, in comparison and certain things. And, he might tell you, you need to be Curtis Sumpter. And someone will say, who? Because I don't know this guy in the league. I'm just saying, let's say now. Or they didn't. Who? No, I don't care. No, you need to be Curtis Sumpter for this team. Or you need to be Randy Foy for this team. Or you need to be Kyle Lowry, Mike Nardi, Alan Ray for this team. That's your goal. You think you're a player? No. You need to be Scotty Reynolds. You need to be Court. That's how. But then you see those guys come back, and then you see the respect they get, and you see the conversation they have, and they're kind of explaining things and creating that bridge between player, coach, and getting you to understand how he wants you to be. I think it's huge, it's monumental, and it helps the program tremendously. And I just remember Jeremiah, I have to talk to Jeremiah Earl all the time. My boy, who just threw his name in the draft. I hated to see him go, but he had to go. Your boy Cole Swider. That was another one of my guys, man. I love Swider, man. But yeah, just Dixon, those guys, just always just, being around the program and getting guys to understand. Because again, the system, once you understand the system, it's over. Once you understand how to play in that system, I don't care what position you are in, it's over. And you ain't got to be great. You got to be great at it. You just got to understand it and it's over. And then you can just plug and play and put and boom, boom, and do well. So, but before we get out of here, I want to just first of all say thank you, Zach, for a wonderful season, for putting this great production together, putting up with some of my tardiness, uh, trying to get guests. Like, this is my first time doing this. It was a challenge, not a challenge for me, but I had fun doing it. I had its moments. I didn't realize, how much fun I was going to have with it. But you actually made it easier for me along with some others. So that's what I want to say thank you for the opportunity working with you. But I do want to ask you, what are your plans as far as with production and this whole lane that you've created with Blueblood on Mainline?
Yeah, well, first I just want to, go back and say thank you to you as well. Fantastic host. Real fun to do this. This was one of my first podcasts I produced, so this was real fun. Villanova basketball will now, because of you, because of this podcast, even as a UNC fan, always hold a special place in my heart. Grew up a UConn fan, turned into a UNC fan when I came here, and Villanova is still top three now because of this podcast, because of hearing all these stories, meeting all these players. And so, yeah, just, thank you for agreeing to do this and just giving me the opportunity to meet these players, meet these people, hear all these former stories, and just, get to talk to you every week, which is, always one of the bright spots of my week. I was like, all right, I get to sit down with Curtis. Here we go.
Awesome.
But, graduating here in, I think, a month on the dot, which is not the best wake up call this morning. Now that I see that number, graduating in a month, just looking to get into sports broadcasting, not super picky what happens with it. If I stay with Field of 68, if I move on, I don't know, just I want to keep covering sports. I want to keep talking to, people like you, hearing all these fantastic stories that we've heard all season, getting this insight, this analysis, talking college basketball. If March Madness is the busiest time of my year, then I've done something right, because that's the goal.
That's what's up. Being a part of this podcast has definitely opened up my eyes too, as far as a potential new lane as well to dab into. But again, it's taking me back to a place, like I said, Villanova basketball, and recreating moments, hearing stories from former teammates, coaches, friends, bro. Like, it's just unbelievable space to be in, and I would love to grow it as well. Hoping to be back next season for the show. It's going to be a long summer, I tell you that much. Can't wait to the season kicks off again next year. But either way, whether it's on the show or not, I would love to just try to get into it a little bit more and do some more content and creating things of that nature, because I had so much fun with it. I never knew how much I would enjoy it, and I'm just thankful that I had you to lean on. Mike Sheridan, big time guy who gave me the ultimate confidence, as well as Coach Wright as well. Jeff Goodman. Thanks, Jeff, also for allowing me to be a part of such an unbelievable show. So here we are, like it's the final show. It's been an unbelievable year, and I'm proud of our team. That's one thing I can say. I'm proud of our team. We fought. I'm proud of Coach, and I think everybody saw. I think Villanova just made another step, man. We just made another step.
Yeah, Curtis. Now, before you go and sign off for the last time here this season, I have one question that, as a UNC fan, I want to know from the outside of UNC as well. You have the four traditional blue bloods that people have known. UNC, Duke, Kansas, UCLA. Is Villanova a blue blood at this point in time? Why or why not?
Yes, we're a blue blood. It's a model of consistency. If you look at all those programs in the last 20 years, we might be the most consistent. And if you look at those programs, they've all had eras of being the face, right, of college basketball. I think Villanova is the face of college basketball, or has been for the last couple of years. Coach Wright is the face of college basketball. Now that Coach K isn't there, I believe there's not. He should have his own video game. So, like, I'm not saying that as if we want to speak facts, we just got to go with just record and consistency and wins. And he's a Hall of Fame coach now. Like currently, like this. What else do we need to do? Like, what else do we need to do? If we'd have won a championship this year, absolutely. I don't think it would have been no question. Anyone can say it. But I think it might take another championship from him to or another championship game appearance, because you win two, let's say you lose a championship game, you're in a multiple 5 Final Fours. That's still like, you just don't do that. You know what I mean? And granted, like, he's doing it. Like, how many coaches? So Coach K has what, 5 championships or 4?
I think 5. I'm pretty sure 5. Duke as a program has 5. But I think Coach K had all of
them. Obviously John Woodard, man, he probably had like, I don't know what, 10. Like he
had double digits at least. Yeah.
Yeah, like if anything, we should take UCLA spot because they ain't done nothing since him. So that's what we want to say, because the coach is like, come on. So as far as consistency, Coach K has had Duke where it's been. You know, Villanova is coming up there. Kansas, Coach Self, yeah, they still up there. Kansas is always going to be there. But no, that spot should be for us, or we should be fighting UCLA for that spot. You know, and Carolina, obviously, it's Carolina. I mean, you can't. It's just, yeah, we should be there. And if there's a petition or something like that, I'm gonna send it to everybody, because we need to get on it and start voting. And because UCLA got to start showing up some more in order to be called a blue blood again, in my opinion. I've never known UCLA to be good, other than, I want to say, like maybe my junior year in high school, something like Darren Davis and Capono, and that was it. Like, I don't remember them really being, oh shoot, UCLA. I they had that 1 or 2 years with Kevin Love, but that's like a one-off. You know what I mean? Like that, I wouldn't count that.
Yeah, every team can pick up a good player and have a good couple of years.
Yeah, Westbrook 1, 2 years, Collison, like they didn't really like stretch it out the way they were supposed. They didn't have like no real run. But Carolina's always been the start of the season. Or they might can go all the way Duke, or they might can go all the way Kansas, or they might can go all the way. And now Villanova, or they might can go all the way. Any other school, like, you don't even say that about Kentucky no more. Like, I don't know. The inconsistencies, you know what I mean? And then now with the transfer portal, like we talked about earlier in the show, Villanova was always going to be Villanova can win it every year. So that's the criteria. We're blue blood. If you think we can win it every year, then you better put us up there.
Yeah, I mean, at the start of the season, before this podcast really kicked into gear, I was like, you know, Villanova might not be able, like, they're definitely on the way. They might not be, but just learning about Villanova more, just learning about the history, following them closely through a season. You know, if they're not a blue blood, which honestly, I'm going to say now, I think they are a blue blood, 20 years of excellence at this point, plus 20 plus years. They're first in line. If they're not a blue blood,
first in line.
You cannot argue that they're first in line, next to happen. I think I saw a tweet from I want to say Mark Titus or Tate Frazier, somebody on the Titus and Tate podcast that said once Villanova hits 100 tournament wins, and they're like 40 off. Once they hit 100, then they're a certified blue blood. And if that's what they got to do, that's what they got to do for whoever tweeted that. But
man, that's it now.
Yeah, if you take that box away, you cannot argue Villanova's not a blue blood at this point.
That's too long. We need, because we're gonna win some chips before we win 40 more tournament games. We don't. That 40 tournament games, what's that? 6, that's 5. Yeah.
If you win,
we're gonna get a chip in the next 3 years.
7 years in a row, you still win.
Yeah, like we.
Yeah. Let me do my math right now.
I think we'll get a chance. And honestly, like, that would be to be a part of that. is it would mean more to me to be a part of that than a Duke guy. Or maybe I'm gonna say no. Maybe one of the early on Duke guys will probably understand what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Because they got there with Coach K and they had to build it, and the same road that a lot of us Villanovas had taken Coach Wright. It's just different type of pride. Like I was there from the start. Like when Coach K came there and said, "Okay, this is what we want to do," he probably said, "We want to be UCLA." Right? Because I know when Coach Wright said us, like, we want to be Duke. I was like, what? But you have like the standards. Like Coach Wright knew what he wanted his program to be. He wanted his program to be Duke of the Northeast better, right? Here we are, right? And I'm sure Coach K probably said, hey, we want to be UCLA of the South, right? Because his probably, coach he looked up to was John Wooden. Like, and that's just how it goes. And you follow those teachers and coaches and you learn. And some luck comes in it as well, and you got to pick some good people and get on a nice little run, which every one of those coaches I mentioned did. Great run.
Yeah, I mean, just some great programs in that list, and Villanova, you cannot argue, is not a great program, and has not. You can't argue that they haven't been a great program for my whole lifespan, last 21 years. It's time to stop gatekeeping blue bloods. And as a UNC fan, I'm gonna welcome you guys in. Like you're a blue blood.
Awesome. One more thing before I go, I also want to say to all my former guests who are watching the show, I want to say thank you as well for joining me, allowing me to spend time with you, catch up, tell some stories, and share with the world, just Villanova basketball and its traditions and how we operate. So thanks again, everybody.
Go ahead, sign us off for the last time, Curtis. And
this is Curtis Sumpter signing off on the last episode of Blueblood on the Mainline. Looking forward to next season, 22-23. Just want to give a shout out to Justin Moore as well. Get better, young brother. We're here for you. We love you. We're going to give you all the support you need. Make sure you're good when you come back, mentally and physically. All right. And to the fans as well, go Cats. Love you. And looking forward to another season.